The fall armyworm, or Spodoptera frugiperta, is a member of the order Lepidoptera in the family Noctuidae. The adult moths are native to North and South America but cannot tolerate cold winters very well, so they are typically found in southern states from Texas to Florida. They are known to be very adaptable to new climates and pesticides, and therefore have been seen in areas all over the globe. These insects are considered a major pest in agriculture because of their broad range of crops that they are found in, most being staple crops for food production. Why is the fall armyworm such a big deal? As mentioned earlier, the armyworm can cause major economic devastation, especially to farmers that are growing maize, wheat, rice, and vegetables that are grown for agricultural purposes. The fall armyworm is able to be such a nuisance to farmers because of their ability to reproduce at rapid rates and in very large amounts. Understanding how the fall armyworm is able to be so successful in this aspect can help to decrease the overall damage to these staple crops for food production. The reason that fall armyworms are such efficient pests is because of their oviposition abilities. Oviposition is the process of a female insect laying an egg that will eventually hatch. Oviposition can be determined by many factors such as temperature, humidity, and access to resources. All of these factors will determine when and where a female may lay her eggs. With that being said, the oviposition behavior of the fall armyworm has been observed in order to better understand the preferences of these insects in order to help deter them from certain crops. Choices such as the type of crop, the location of the egg-laying site, and time of year all affect the behavior of the fall armyworm when ovipositing. Typically, fall armyworms will mate in the middle of the night around 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. during the late summer and early fall months. The females will then find the preferred food source and lay her eggs on the underside of leaves or in between blades of grass in groups of up to a couple hundred at a time. An individual female lays on average 1,000 eggs in her lifespan. The eggs are then covered in a protective substance that appears to be white and fuzzy and is similar to silk. These eggs will hatch after just 2 to 5 days and then start eating their host plant for nutrients. Through research, it has been shown that fall armyworms will lay eggs on many different types of crops, but depending on certain factors, a specific crop is chosen. When placed in the general area of both a wheat plant and a faba bean plant, both natural ovipositing plants for the fall armyworm, it was shown that these insects choose the wheat plant on more occasions than the faba bean. The health of the larvae reared by both crops was also measured, and the ones on wheat performed better than the ones reared on beans. As mentioned earlier, fall armyworms are known pests of various crops, such as grasses, cereal crops, and many types of forage plants. As adults, they aren't a threat to crops and only feed on nectar, meaning it is just the juvenile stages of this insect that pose a threat to crops. The food that the larva is raised on is solely determined by where the eggs are laid, as they will eat the plant as soon as they hatch. The crop that's affected by the fall armyworm the most is maize. This also seems to be the most preferred crop of the fall armyworm, with the most oviposition occurring on these. When given the options of many other types of grasses that have been known to be targets of fall armyworms in the past, the adult females will ignore these most of the time and lay their eggs on maize. Pheromones are used in the process of mating in order to attract mates and can be released by both males and females. In fall armyworms, there are 2 genetic variations that produce different concentrations of hormones. These different concentrations of hormones are released by the females and attract males from both variations without regard to the female's genetics. Pheromones can be used to divert mating and oviposition, and in particular, a compound known as C9-14 OAC was able to reduce oviposition by 84%. Oviposition manipulation of the fall armyworm can help decrease the damage to crops all over America. These can be done using methods to confuse the adult females, such as changing the crops nearby to be less targetable for egg laying. Another way can be through pheromone manipulation, allowing the males of the species to struggle to mate with females, which could effectively decrease the total population in an area. In conclusion, fall armyworms are moths that are native to North and South America, but can be found all over the world currently. They are pests to major food crops all over the world and are attracted to grasses and cereal grains with a preference for maize and wheat. They use pheromones in order to attract their mates to breed, and both variations of these males can hybridize with females. In the future, it could be possible to control the damage of these insects by manipulating hormones released by females and by rotating crops grown in an area. These methods may or may not work, since the fall armyworm has been known to adapt to changing situations. So, more research for a more permanent solution can still be out there.